Just enjoy watching and let's start.
His body froze with winter. It was better that way. That's what he thought about it, at least. Sometimes. Not that it was great to think that way. Naruto would hate it. Naruto has hated it, in the past, when the words would just slip from him. And he knew, if he ever spilled it to Hinata, she would, well. She would do what Hinata did best, or, well, what she did second best. Because her best was to always make the world light, colorful, warm. But after that, the best thing she did was worry, and worry hard, worry to the point of shaking, pacing, panicking. His body froze with winter. And it was best to keep that to himself. ... This is stupid. Sasuke had never said such a phrase more than after he had met Naruto Uzumaki. The guy followed the yellow brick road of bad ideas, and, well, Sasuke was no saint, he supposed. He followed along with him. He saw the flying monkeys and witches, but he still followed. In this case, monkeys and witches were a suit jacket way too big for him and absolutely not his color, and when Sasuke turned away from it, he was once again distracted crumpled piece of paper that had been stuffed in his left hand. Naruto had given it to him. There was a scribbled list of things he could say to ask Hinata out, like, at least lines. All bad, all totally not his style. Like the god-awful suit jacket Naruto was trying to make him wear. Ellipsis. He really tried to sell it to him, for whatever reason. This belonged to Kiba's great-grandpa. He was friends with George Washington, you know. That didn't matter. Still owned by a dog, still smelled like a dog, therefore, it should be worn by a dog. Sasuke was many things, but a damn mutt was not one of them. It has its charm. I bet it could get you any chick out there. Sasuke didn't want just any chick. He wanted Hinata, and if she saw him in this, she'd just fall over right, that was sure. And Hinata loves the color yellow. Sure, maybe. Sunflower yellow. Sunshine yellow. This was mustard yellow mixed with vomit. Next. I'm not wearing that. Naruto threw the jacket on his bed and threw his hands in the air. You're impossible. This was all your idea from the beginning. Sasuke felt the need to remind him, because for whatever reason, Naruto was acting like he was doing him a favor. He didn't do any of this, though. He hadn't even suggested it. What happened to not liking the idea of me dating her? Naruto raised his right hand to wag absently his way. What friend would I be if I didn't encourage this? Hinata is the best thing that could happen to you. Why did he have face of a proud father? Just a couple days ago, he was spewing all that bullshit about her being like his mom or something. You're lucky to have her. Ellipsis. It felt like he was in 6th grade. It happened a few times. You need this. You need that. Listen to me. I'm your father. Kindness should never be trusted when it came from his father. Kindness was a lie disguised as something better. He wasn't generous. He wasn't selfless. Even back then, mere child, Sasuke knew that. Those are new shoes for you. Your coach said you needed them. Sasuke never asked for them. She's your tutor. She'll help you with algebra. Sasuke didn't need the help. Go outside more. It's not healthy to be stuck in your room all day. But he was the one who locked him in there. Listen to me, Sasuke. But his father never listened to him. And right now, it felt like that. That feeling you got when people gave you things you didn't want, you didn't ask for, it was all coming back in waves. You were expected to nod and take it and use it. He had a tongue. He knew the language. If he wanted it, he'd tell you. Hell, if he wanted it, he'd already have it. That was how he worked. And, of course he knew it was unfair to compare Naruto to his father. Really, he didn't see it exactly like that. It was just that the feeling gurgling in his lungs felt the same. He had to move his weight back and forth between his legs to keep his balance. Ellipsis. Naruto, he said, pushing his hands into his pockets, I don't want Hinata to be my girlfriend. Naruto sighed at the jacket, as if just realizing how absolutely fucking atrocious it was, and began to fold the sleeves into the chest. You said you did yesterday. Sasuke frowned. How the hell did he get that idea? I said maybe. Humming, Naruto folded the jacket up and pulled over a paper bag, probably what Kiba had given him when he asked to borrow it. Same thing. Maybe isn't a yes, Naruto. At that, blue eyes finally turned on him. They looked at him like they looked at that jacket. Not disgusted. Not at all. Just as if he was realizing something, and Naru turned and dropped himself onto the foot of his bed. Look at it this way, he said, like he was teaching him something. Like this was some sort of important lesson. Sasuke really had no choice but to sit on his own bed and you don't want to date her. That's fine, I get that, but, say, in a few weeks, Hinata starts dating someone else. That sent rocks into his intestines. Dating someone else. When he tried to picture it in his head, those rocks began to rumble and vibrate inside him, and Sasuke could hardly get a breath out. Not fun to think about, huh? Naruto's voice somehow matched whatever shit Sasuke was feeling inside. I don't want that, Sasuke eventually managed. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and crossed his legs close to him. Then it's tricky. You don't want to date her, but you don't want her to be with someone else. With I spelled out so plainly for him, Sasuke really began to see the issue. God, would he ever stop being such an ass? Even in his own head, he couldn't stop. It's not like she's possession. She can do whatever she wants. If she finds someone else, she can date them. That's how this works. Yeah, he knew that much, and Hinata was one of those people that just, well, anyone could fall in love with her. Sasuke was one of the millions. She just captured you before you even realized were caught. She made you feel like her world was in your hand, but that wasn't really the case, was it? Really, she had your world, and she held it close and kept it warm, protected it from all the darkness and demons. She had his world, she kept it close and dear. But what stopped her from finding someone else? What stopped someone else from falling in love with her and taking that step Sasuke didn't want to take? Sasuke didn't want those damn shoes, but at least they helped him play soccer better. Sasuke didn't need the tutor, but his father had been right. It helped his grades, even if it was just a bit. Sasuke went outside, because father said so. Sasuke listened, because father said so. Okay, it was strange. You never realize how much you want something until someone pulls you in the right direction. You're right, I'll ask her out, ellipsis. And now he stood in front of her dorm's door, hovering like a ghost, feeling like one, too. He wanted to just call her, but asking face to face was best. Naruto had said so. The rocks had reached his hands now. It felt like a chore to lift his hand. It felt like it was impossible to just knock. But he felt that expectant stare from down the hallway, behind the corner. He couldn't run. Sasuke Uchiha didn't run. Ellipsis. He heard her approach the door a few seconds after his knuckles touched the wood. Her footsteps sounded like honey dripping down the side of the jar. How did that make sense? He didn't know. That's just how he described it. It made sense, somehow. Somewhere back there in his mind, in that locked part that only his father had the key to. Ellipsis. Her face glowed like it had 2 nights ago, when he kissed her. Sasuke. Gee, good evening. She had that shy smile. Her fingers played with one of the frills of her skirt. He should have planned what to say before knocking. His head had been so focused on the actual knocking part that he hadn't a clue what to do afterwards. With a tilt to head, Sasuke caught Naruto's form in the corner of his eye. He was peeking out from the corner, one of his hands gesturing wildly for him to talk. But talk how? What should he say? What would Naruto talk about? It might snow tomorrow. Hinata blinked, brows slanted upwards, a little startled. Yes, she breathed, I heard about that. They said it will be cloudy all day, but snowfall won't actually happen until 6 that evening. That's what they said. Now he was rambling. What the fuck was he doing? It'd be bad. Definitely not a blizzard, but it will be cold all day. You need to dress warm. He looked back at Naruto, who was currently beating his head into the off-white wall. Hinata just, sorta, stood there for a moment. Her face wasn't really perplexed. It just kind of relaxed, and then her gaze tipped down with the weight of thought. You're right, she said, and I don't think I have a coat. I should go buy one. That was his chance, and Sasuke took it before he could talk himself out of it. I'll come with you. Her head snapped up. Huh, and after that, I'll take you somewhere. Her face matched the pale color of her eyes. Did she misunderstand him? That was possible. Take you somewhere was entirely too friendly. In fact, he was quite sure he heard Shino say those exact same words to H when he wanted to celebrate her good grade for a test she'd been stressing about for the whole month. So he tried to find her gaze, but he just couldn't. His eyes settled on her chin instead, and he said, a bit miserably, Hinata, I'm asking you out. The fingers at her skirt froze. I know, she whispered. I know, Sasuke. Ellipsis. The color came back to her face. It even reached her chin, which seemed like the only thing his eyes would focus on. Will you be alright? He shook his head, trying to get a hold of himself. I have a jacket, Sasuke. She said his name like it was supposed to mean something. I'll be fine, he said. Hinata moved back into her dorm, grabbing the side of the door. Okay, she said, then. I'll see you tomorrow. Her smile caught the edge of his vision, and warmth spilled into him. I love you. He was all out of things to say. It took too much of him to talk, so he just tried to smile and watched her shut the door. Ellipsis. For whatever reason, Naruto was acting like the one out of it. I can't believe it, he kept saying. You have a date, and that made Sasuke feel a whole new level of something. It was kind of like he was living Naruto's dream right now. There was no good point to think of things like that, but once his mind grasped onto the thought, he couldn't think of anything else. This is what Naruto wanted. A girlfriend, someone who liked him for him, someone who wouldn't hurt him. But life gave it to him, the guy who didn't even know if he wanted it in the first place. I don't know about this, he muttered as the elevator doors opened. Naruto stepped out, giving him a look. What do you mean? And Sasuke didn't know how to say it without sounding like a dick, so all he said was, I don't know anything about dating. And, again, Naruto's face fell with realization. Shit. Ellipsis. He spent all night cleaning his sheets and blankets and pillowcases. And Naruto, of course, bothered him throughout all of it, as well. And, you're supposed to pull the chair out for her. It shows you're being nice. Really? He tried to get him to shut up and go to bed, but it was really like trying to teach a pig to sing. He knew the jittery, fluctuating mood Naruto was in. There was only person who could get him sleeping in such a state, and she was currently the apple of their conversation for the past 4 hours. Don't talk about stupid things, and try to listen. It's important to not talk about yourself the whole time. And the worst thing was, Sasuke listened. If he just ignored him, Naruto might have eventually gotten the hint and left. But he hadn't been lying when he said he knew about dating, and it wasn't like he could look at his own parents' relationship for a good example. So he listened. He cleaned the dishes, he folded his clothes, he made his with the clean sheets and blankets, and he listened. And no, I think the small fork is actually for salad, and the big one is the guy just existed in the sun. Every aspect of him shined with energy and optimism. Sasuke didn't know how he could manage. Shouldn't he be just as tired as him? Bu just didn't seem like Naruto's style. When something was important to him, he put his 100% into it. So, was this important to him? And what part of it, exactly? Was it because they were friends? Was it because this was the first time Sasuke ever showed interest in someone else? Or was it because this was what Naruto wanted? Was it because this was his dream, the thing he worked so hard to get, the thing he wished for when he thought no one was looking? When he was getting beat up by Sakura, this is what he hoped would come from it. When he was getting dragged around by Temari, this is what he had imagined dating. A girlfriend who smiled at everything you said. Someone who just enjoyed being with you. And Sasuke, life was unfair to the worst of people. We can walk there. I don't mind. This was Naruto's role. This was supposed to be for him. There's a place where the coats are on sale. I was thinking of going there. What was karma doing? Naruto didn't do anything wrong. Why was it punishing him? Sasuke. Through the mist of his breath, he looked down at Hinata, who stayed on the corner of the sidewalk, watching the cars pass by. Sorry, are you alright? She asked. He lied without realizing it, spouting something about thinking about homework or some shit. He doubted she believed him, but Hinata didn't say much after that. It would be horrible of him to take back the date. He's done enough to her, hasn't he? No harm in at least doing this much. He kept looking back to that table they had sat at a few days ago. Back then, the whole gang had been with them. Hinata had been sitting between Kiba and Shino, and S had felt so fucking jealous that he could barely look at them. That's what kept him there, the memory of that jealousy. He didn't want her to be with anyone else. He hated himself when he hurt her. Back then, he didn't have the right to say, "Don't kiss anyone else but me." But if he stayed, he would. Ellipsis. Is it because of that night? She asked after the waiter passed them their glasses of water. The ice was right at the top, nearly spilling over, and Hinata quickly sipped at tea to prevent the mess. Is it because I kissed you that you won't look me in the eye? I kissed you, too, he said without really thinking, then added, with a bit more caution to his voice, that's some of it. Hinata's smile was as patient as Naruto had said it would be. He knew her so well. We went a bit fast, she said. Her voice was light, she didn't sound upset. Sasuke, I don't mind going slow. You don't have to force yourself. But shouldn't he? Didn't she deserve that small bit of happiness he could offer by doing this? Constantly going back and forth, wanting her, then not, ignoring her, then be for her attention, missing her so much it hurt, then washing his bed sheets twice to get as much of her out of it. It was so exhausting. He was so tired. So how did she feel? She wasn't in his mind. She didn't know how his head worked. Ellipsis. Don't think about it. But he did. There were only two people he thought about so much in his life, Hinata and Naruto. So even though he didn't want to, Naruto wouldn't do this to her. He did. Ellipsis. The food came piping hot. Hinata thanked the waiter, pulled her napkin on her lap, and glanced at him from across the table. What else is it? Huh? Was all he could say, like some idiot. Hinata glanced around, then leaned a bit over the table. It wasn't just that night. You said there was something else. Oh, I'll listen to you, Sasuke. Tell me what's new. His brain grabbed onto the opening. Half of it pushed him forward, telling him to take the step, to just say what he was thinking. It would help her in the long run. He was doing it for her. But the other half screamed for him to stop while he could. He didn't want this. It was wrong. He needed to stop thinking like this. You promise? He finally found her eye. You promise you'll listen? She gave him every inch of her attention and nodded. Don't. He yelled. Don't say anything. But his mouth didn't listen. The words were in the air before he could stop them. I was thinking about Naruto. Ellipsis. Hinata's hands lifted from her lap, nearly touching the table. Her shoulders, cladded beneath the heavy weight of her new coat, arched with apparent worry. Is he all right? He's fine. She sighed, but did not relax. Then what is it? A horrible taste filled his mouth, but Sasuke ignored it. You've known him for a while. That's true, she said. He's been through a lot, I'm sure you know. Sasuke. Hinata was turning tense again. Are you sure everything is fine? But he's still good. A part of him was a little jealous, though he would never admit it was to a concerning degree. Sasuke knew he was fucked in the head. Naruto should too, but he stayed on his feet. He knew what to say, what to do. He was good. You know how he is. He doesn't let it mess with him. Naruto worked hard to be where he is, Hinata agreed. It's not easy. I've always admired him for that. And for whatever reason, he was laughing, now. He helped me ask you out, he said. He stood around the corner so I wouldn't run. And last night, he stayed up all night me. That's the kind of guy he is. At that, Hinata's smile grew. He's always there for his friends. We're lucky to have him. Ellipsis. Sasuke didn't like the idea of Hinata being with anyone else. But, he's a better match, isn't he? But if it were Naruto. Hinata. If it were Naruto, he thought it would be better. Because Naruto was a good guy. I think you should go out with Naruto. Ellipsis. She didn't scream at him like he wanted her to. He watched that hand that gripped her water glass so securely, waiting for her to throw it at him. But she never did. She stopped smiling. That was the start. Then, she pulled her first to her lap, threw a 20 on the table, and stood without even touching her food. She left without saying a word to him. No cussing him out. No smacking some sense into him. No yelling at how stupid he was being. She didn't even cry. She just left. Ellipsis. And, again, his brain was split in two. He wanted this to happen. It was better this way. So why was he begging himself to follow her? What good would that do? Why couldn't he just make up his mind? His hand was in the air, waving over the waiter. Hinata's 20 was stuffed in his pocket, and he paid with his card, tapping impatiently on the side of the table. When the check finally came back, he ran out of the cafe. Ran. Sasuke Uchiha never ran. Ellipsis. The red of the stoplight took over her entire face when he found her on the corner, waiting. Hinata. You regret what you said, she said for him, like she knew how hard it would be for him to say such a thing. It was like she was always doing that. She always did the har for him. You didn't mean to say it. And what else was he supposed to do but go along the path she dug out for him? I was being, I know. But she still didn't look at him. And yes, you were. I'm just not ready to, Sasuke. Her voice faltered, like there was water in her lungs. She cleared her throat, and said, I told you I was willing to wait, didn't I? I said I didn't mind going slow wu. She had, but, you need to listen to the world around you, Sasuke. The light turned green, and her hand tugged his sleeve so he would follow her across the street. Things like this happen because you don't listen. They were a few blocks away from campus. The sky was dark, like charcoal. He could smell the frost in the air. Isn't that unfair? He asked. Why should you wait for me? Why? Hinata gave him a look that made him feel absolutely childish. Because I'm in love with you. Why wouldn't I wait? The sound of traffic got stuck in his throat, and let go of his sleeve and walked a bit in front of him. But I won't be in love with a man who tells me to be with someone else. If you really think I should be with Naruto, stay your friend and nothing more. He tried to picture it again in his head. It seemed so natural for her to be with Naruto. He'd swing her around in the air. She'd laugh down at him and look at him like he'd the only person in the universe. He's a good person. That's not what I asked, Sasuke. Listen to me. But when that image of them changed, and she leaned down to kiss him, he couldn't. He didn't want that to happen. It made him so unbalanced and sick, he was sure he was about to pass out. I don't want you to be with him. The string of fog that left her mouth was gentle, dancing in the wind. She stopped, and he grabbed a pole to stabilize himself. It's okay, Sasuke, she said, lifting her sleeves to her eyes to wipe at them. I was really angry at first, and I still am, but I understand. It's okay to talk things one step at a time. I won't rush you. I shouldn't have said that to you, he murmured. Hinata shook her head. It did hurt, but I understand. You can't expect your first time with things like this to be perfect. It's okay if they're messy. I'll be at your side when get through it. Ellipsis. Really? She was being too nice about this. But Sasuke reminded himself he needed to listen to the world. Ellipsis. So he did. He closed his eyes, pushed away from his thoughts, and listened. He heard the racing cars turning into hums as they walked further and further into campus. There were people around, talking to one another, catching up on old news or about certain papers coming up in classes. It was too cold for birds, but the whistle of the wind sounded kind of like a song. He heard Hinata next to him. Her footsteps were really quiet on the stone path, but he heard her. He heard her because she was so close to him. She was there with him. Had said she would wait, and she was. She didn't pass like the people around them, nor did she fade into a hum like the cars. She was there. She stayed. Hinata stayed. Ellipsis. Now, he kind of felt a little silly. Getting worked up over nothing, rushing himself into things without really thinking. What? Was he Naruto? Seriously. Yeah, I heard it's supposed to snow all night. Seriously. Sasuke opened his eyes and saw the snow falling from the charcoal sky. In this distance, over the whistle, he heard Naruto. Outside, in the snow, in the freezing snow. Ellipsis. 5 years isn't that long of a time. For a 21-year-old, it's not even a fourth of their life. People are always changing, adapting, maturing, but how far can you go with that? Sasuke wasn't who he was 10 years ago, but he still felt that panic when his hand locked doorknob. He didn't live with his father anymore, but he still heard him talk to him, still remembered the lessons he taught him. He tried to ignore them, they made his life worse, but they wouldn't leave. Naruto was a different man from who he was 5 years ago, but to what extent? There were still parts of him that were that awkward, desperate boy, begging for a tantio, doing anything, dealing with anything, to get it. He tried to hide it, but Sasuke saw it. Sasuke knew it was still there, just beneath the surface. 5 years ago, the snow had been golden with Naruto Uzumaki's hair. It had been blue with his eyes, with the tips of his fingers. And now, Now, Sasuke found that bastard, yanked him back from the hood of his coat, and dragged him into the dorm's building. Naruto choked and swiped at him, whining that he was the snow, that he liked the snow, that he was playing in the. How could he though? How the hell could he? When they got in the lobby, Sasuke spun to find snow in his bright hair, snow laying like a corpse on his shoulders. Fucking hell. What the hell is wrong with you? Naruto had girl bruises on the back of his neck. Small. Too small to be blown from a guy. The guy was getting punched by some chick. Seriously. And when he looked back at Sasuke, he had a stupid look on his face, like he wasn't damn ashamed to be beaten up so openly, and by a girl. A fucking girl. Where this guy's pride? Father wouldn't let mom touch him like that. Never. It would be a disgrace. To the Uchiha name. To being a man. A man. What do you mean? This guy, he was no man. What the hell was he? It's Sakura Haruno, right? She's the one hitting you. Naruto looked down at himself, as if checking to make sure he couldn't see whatever was under the rest of his clothes. Then he just grinned. Grinned and rubbed at his bruises on the back of his neck, as if he could just wipe them away and pretend they were never there. You can tell. And he was laughing. Aren't you? Wait, you're Sasuke, right? Sasuke something. We're in, wait. We're in, we definitely have some class Togath, right? Am I right? The halls of the high school were empty, but Naruto looked around them as if he was just expecting some classmate to jump out from behind the trash cans to scare him. Sasuke scowled. Aren't you a guy? Again? Naruto looked down at himself. Yeah, what class are we in together, again? Is it zoology? Then hit her back. He didn't know why he was just giving his father's advice to this random kid. Uchihas didn't feel sympathy, so it wasn't that. Maybe pity. The kind you when someone kicked a dog, but also, well, there was disgust there, too. Like when you just wait for that dog to pounce, to jump into instincts and protect themselves. They never do. They just take it. You're stronger than her. She'll stop if you do. At that, Naruto panicked. That stupid grin on his face slipped away. No way. I love her. There's no way I could do that. Love her. Yeah, sure. He did. Man up. Seriously. And he left him there. Alone in that hallway. Outside, the sky turned gray, and Sasuke could smell the snow in the air. Shit. Dude. Sasuke. Sasuke. Hinata pushed through the doors, sweeping snow off her coat. What's wrong? Did something happen? His vocal cords had turned into ice. He couldn't talk, so he just pulled him away, pulled him further inside, pulled, cut it out, man. Naruto whacked his hand away, eyes squinting in the yellow lighting. You can't just, hey, Sasuke, stop pulling me. You can't actually be thinking about it still. Maybe the guy was just a moron. They had one conversation that didn't even last 3 minutes, and now he wouldn't stop bothering him at lunch. No, hear me out. I had zoology and English this morning, and I didn't see you there, so that means you have to be in algebra too, or gym, or, wait, maybe you're in, why does it matter? Sasuke snapped. Naruto scratched at his turtleneck. He was probably wearing it to hide the girl bruises. But, really, what was the point of that? Sasuke had already seen them. Because I can't remember. That's why. I know you're in one of my classes, so just tell me which, leave me alone. Naruto stopped. You heard me. You're annoying. Leave, or I'll give you something you can't hide, and trust me, I punch harder than your fucking girlfriend. Sasuke watched with a little satisfaction as Naruto's face turned red with shame, and he looked around the dining area before slowly slipping his food tray further and further down the table, away from him. Ellipsis. They were all in that fucking small elevator. Sasuke was so caught in himself that he didn't even think about pushing Hinata's floor button. No one did. The door opened to Naruto's floor, and he stepped out the moment he could. Sasuke, Naruto called from behind. Sasuke, hold on. Sasuke reached their door, but the knob wouldn't budge. It was locked. He yanked at it, twisted it, nothing. He tried slamming his shoulder into the door, tried kicking it still, nothing. It wouldn't fucking open. Hey, Naruto yelled, getting between him and the door. Key. You have to use the key. Naruto pushed his key inside, and the knob clicked. Sasuke tried again, twisting it back, and was able to open the door. He held it open wide. "Go," he said to Naruto. "Go in." Naruto glanced at Hinata next to him, then went inside their shared dorm room. Sasuke slammed the door behind them. It was snowing. God, he wanted to just scream at him. His throat felt tight and hot, but if he could, he'd yell at the top of his lungs. "What were you thinking?" Naruto met him with equal hostility. "What about you? What were you thinking? It's graphic arts, right? Your common sense must have been beaten out of you, huh?" "It has to be." Naruto pulled his ice pack away from his purple nose and smiled at him. "That's the only class one also have with Sakura. The roles are supposed to be flipped," Sasuke tried to explain, getting more and more exhausted by the second. Is this what his father felt like when trying to explain him? If that were the case, then Sasuke could understand why he was always the way he was. "She's not supposed to hurt you like that," it switched. "Don't you get it? Why the guy?" Naruto looked at him like he was speaking a different language, and, seriously, Sasuke wanted nothing more but to punch him again. Pain was supposed to make things he had been right. They did share graphic arts. And for the past 3 months, time and time again, Sasuke had to see that shit. The guy just took it. "You weren't supposed to do that. Fight back." He wanted to scream at him. For the love of God, fight back. And today, God, it had all piled up so quickly. He really couldn't just sit and watch anymore. Eventually, if the same old dog kept getting kicked and didn't start fighting, you began to realize there had to be something wrong with the dog. And it was so damn frustrating to see that really, Sasuke just punched him. That sent Naruto to the nurses and him to the principal's office, and the second he got out, of course, Naruto was there, sitting by the exit, watching the snow pile up against the window. "You're pathetic." That strange look left Naruto's face. He understood what he was saying perfectly now. "Maybe we can work on the next project together," he said. "I was supposed to work it with Sakura, but, hey, I doubt she'll want me holding her back. She's too smart you know." It was like he was talking to a wall, or a door. A big door, locked, and you talk to it, hoping someone's on the other side, hoping someone is listening. But, really, who are you kidding? No one's there. It's always been you. No one else is on the other side. You're alone. You're talking to yourself. No one is listening. No, but, I told you to leave me alone, didn't I? Naruto pulled his gaze away from him, focusing back on the white, untouched world outside. "Okay," he said, "sorry." Sasuke took the victory when he could and left. He thought about school for the rest of the year. No more pestering bastard. No more sad excuse for a man. No more Javi sit back and watch and watch and watch. His home was in view. Snow had gotten trapped in his shoes. His backpack felt heavy. His nose hurt. He had been hoping the guy would have punched him back. Maybe that's why it hurts. His body was pretending it did. That would be best, right? Because then Naruto would have to disappear, he could still be there. He'd be on Sasuke's level, see things the way he did. Sakura wouldn't be a problem anymore. He wouldn't have to wear turtlenecks and long coats. If something annoyed him or pissed him off, he'd deal with it like a man is supposed to. Maybe then, Sasuke could stand to be around him. Maybe then, Sasuke wouldn't have to question everything just because he caught a look at the guy's face. Just hit her back, yeah. Okay. That would be their first conversation tomorrow. Maybe, if Sasuke ever told father about Naruto, he wouldn't be disappointed. "Yeah, my friend at school got suspended for throwing some kid through the window." Would his father like that story? Would he unlock the door and show he was listening? His feet found the porch, and he almost had to turn around as his stomach lurched. Bile burned the back of his throat. A nasty taste came to his mouth. He didn't like that story. It didn't fit Naruto. None of it did. Naruto shouldn't be like that. Sasuke gagged, wiped at his face, and pulled at the door. Locked. And instead of sitting and waiting for hours like he usually did, he turned around, jumped off the porch, and ran back to school. Ellipsis. He found him lying in the snow, arms and legs stretched out like an angel. His hair looked like wheat. His fingers looked like his nose, like the bruises on his neck. His eyes were, hey. Sasuke ran over to him, knees sinking into the snow. Hey, wake up. Was he alive? Was he breathing? Why wasn't he opening his eyes? Wake up, Naruto, wake. So he did. Those blue eyes scared away the clouds in the sky, and the azure canvas above them peeked in through the gray. Oh, was all he said to him. Sasuke wanted to, God, he wanted to, what? He snapped. What, are you trying to freeze to death? Is that it? Is that what you want? The corner of Naruto's lip jerked up as he laughed. Huh, what do you mean? I'm just enjoying the snow, yeah. Yeah, sure he was. Of course, absolutely, definitely, that was all this was. Totally, alright, okay. Sasuke leaned over and yanked at the collar of his shirt. Let's do that project together. I'll come over this weekend, alright. Sit up, already. He stayed a few more moments enclosed in that blinding white, then, finally, sat up. Snow caked his back like mud. Sasuke rolled his sleeve over his hand and scraped it. Oh, I'm not the smartest, Naruto told him, hands perched on his knees, still swollen from the cold, but I know how to Photoshop. We can at least get B. A, Sasuke said, frowning. My father would kick my ass if we got a B. Naruto grinned down at his hands. Alright, I'll try extra hard, then. And when we're done, we can get Chinese or something. Sasuke shrugged off his backpack and pulled out his gloves, dropping them on top of Naruto's hands. Sure, okay, I have Netflix. We can watch Atla. How long was he expecting him to stay over? But, well, he wasn't scared. Uchihas don't get scared. But when Sasuke thought about all this snow, and about the snowstorm coming that weekend, when he thought of Naruto there, at his house, without him there, it made him feel off. Unsettled, paranoid. Yeah, he said, standing, yanking him up with him, we can do that. Ellipsis. That was 5 years ago. Sasuke threw his coat onto the bed, but Naruto kept his own. He was drenched and cold, but he kept it on, like he was about to go out again. We're staying in, he said. Naruto huffed. Are you listening to me? I said that was 5 years ago. You can't seriously still be thinking about that. He was. So what? Anyone would. Anyone would get nervous when they thought about it. It's seriously nothing. Don't say that, Sasuke snapped. Don't just pretend it didn't fucking happen. Naruto blinked, then his eyes went narrow. Who said I was pretending it didn't happen? I'm just not stuck on it like you. Man, Sasuke, come on. That was so long ago. Kids, if I didn't come, you would have stayed there, and you would have frozen yourself to death. You don't know that. Naruto tugged at the collar of his coat, then finally slipped it off his shoulder, if only for Sasuke's sake. You don't know what I would have done. Sasuke paced to the side of his bed. I know I treated you like shit. I know I just added more shit to your fucked up life. Sasuke, it's fucking snow. How could he not understand that it was so much more than that? It wasn't just the snow, it was what happened around it. It was the what-ifs. It was the almosts. It was memories that came with it. Naruto should understand that, out of everyone, he should understand that the best. So why didn't he? Sasuke, come on, stop moving around and listen. Naruto went over and sat on his bed. Sasuke had to force his legs to stop moving. Okay, I know what you're thinking at school, when I was in the snow, right? But you're forgetting what happened after. After? Naruto found his gaze. Right, remember, you need to find better people to hang out with. He didn't know where Naruto's house was, so he just followed. The sidewalks were icy, so they trudged through the snow in the yards to avoid slipping. Whenever Sasuke Naruto would whirl around and give him all the attention in the world. He's almost tripped over something 5 times already. Dumbass. What do you mean? He asked. Sakura's great. He didn't say anything about Sakura, though, well, she did fall into that category, he supposed. And you're great, too. Sasuke gave him a look. You're not serious. Naruto smiled and patted the back of his neck. No one ever talked about them, you know. His glove swiped away some of the snow on the back of his head. I didn't even to hide them. I guess they just thought I got them from playing some sport, or, like, because I'm a guy, I just get myself into trouble, or something. But you knew. You the first one. That doesn't make me great. It's not just that, you came back to check on me. He didn't know what to say about that, so Sasuke just kept quiet. They eventually came upon a house, and Naruto didn't even have to stop and pull out a key. "It's unlocked," he said, holding the door open for Sasuke. "You can come in." Ellipsis. "You came over all the time after that. You practically became my brother. I know you get stuck on the rough things that happened back then, but I think it's important to remember the good things, too. The positives." Ellipsis. What the hell? But there was no way he could do that. He'd be ignoring everything else. What about all that shit he said? What about how he treated him? Naruto needed help, and for the longest time, he had beat him down even more. "Oh, your girlfriend is BU. Beat her back. Be a man." Because apparently men could only hurt people. They weren't allowed to feel things. They weren't allowed to get hurt by others. He had tried to convince Naruto to believe those things. What if he had succeeded? Then they would both be in Sasuke's shoes now, struggling to get away from that. But could they? Could they really? Or would it alw a part of them, no matter how hard they tried to fight it, to change it, to ignore it? How could he forget that? How could he just think of the positives? That was impossible. Ellipsis. Maybe being locked away was better. When you're alone, you can think. Nothing's there to distract you, to make you feel small, to make you feel trapped. Ellipsis. Sasuke. His back was against the wall. Naruto stood from his bed, looking down at him. "Sasuke, come on, can you leave?" He pressed his forehead against his knees, folding into himself. "Go away." Nothing came from Naruto for a moment. Then, "Let's talk about this." He didn't want to. Not right now. It was too tight. "Can't you go away, Sasuke? You're still thinking about something I don't even care about anymore. There's a problem here. Go." His hands pressed hard into the floor. "Just go, Sasuke. Go," he yelled. "Listen to me. Leave." Naruto frowned and looked ready to walk over to him. Sasuke's lungs turned to lead. He tried to push himself further into the wall. But then a knock came to the door. Naruto's head shot back. "Oh, Hinata." He opened the door, and she stood in the hall, tugging at her sleeves. "Naruto," she whispered, "come with me for a second. Let him breathe." Blue eyes captured Sasuke in another state of tightness, but then he sighed, nodded, and joined her in the hallway. The door clicked shut. Sasuke's head found the wall, as well. Ellipsis. He felt cold, and sometimes, he felt like he deserved it. He thought that the next time it snowed, he should go out like Naruto did, lay in it like Naruto did, close his eyes and escape like Naruto did. Maybe then, he'd understand. But Naruto wouldn't want him to understand, so he never did. So he always kept an updated report of the weather on a tab in his phone, and when it snowed, he watched it from the safety of the window. Ellipsis. He hadn't panicked in a while. Not like this. He'd have to hide it from his father, or he'd beat at the door randomly throughout the night and send him spiraling and freaking out. But his father wasn't here. He had to remind himself of that. Sometimes, when he'd look in the mirror, he'd see him. But he wasn't his father. He had to remind himself of that, too. Ellipsis. Maybe 40 minutes passed, maybe more. But when he was ready, and when he could breathe, he stood and pushed away from the wall. The only light was the sliver of it from under the door. When he opened it, they were sitting against the opposite wall, legs crossed and cups of ramen warming up their hands. Hinata smiled in greeting, and Naruto drank all of his broth before asking, "Feeling better?" Sasuke looked down the hallway, saw no one, and nodded. "Ah, good." Naruto stood, but didn't move away from the wall. "Sorry. I didn't realize, or I would have given you space." He should just reassure him, but for some reason, the words wouldn't come out. All he could do was push the door open wider. Thankfully, Naruto understood. Ellipsis. All I want you to understand is that, really, and I'm being honest, here, that the past is the past. I know, he said. We can't change it, even if we wanted to. But we grew from it, we've matured, and we learned. We're not those people anymore. He remembered Hinata's words, listen to the world. So he tried. He tried to block out his own thoughts and listen. You need to stop punishing yourself over it, Naruto said, and I need to stop letting you act like my mom whenever it snows. Seriously, I can take care of myself. Sasuke tried to smile. I thought Hinata was your mom. You're both pretty mom-ish. Naruto laughed a tad and leaned off the side of his bed. Hey, but since you don't know, I'll tell you. If you hadn't come and found me that day when it snowed, you know what I would have done. Sasuke crossed his legs close to his body and waited. Naruto smiled. I would have frozen my ass off, probably. I was gathering my courage, you know. I was planning on annoying the hell out of you until you agreed to be my partner in graphic arts. What? All the air in his body left his body. If he had been outside, it would have been a train of fog leaving his mouth. That's it? He asked. Really, there's no way I would have let you off that easy. You should know that by now. Again, it was hard to believe. But he had to. He had to. Ellipsis. Naruto crossed his legs, as well, and rubbed at the side of his neck. Okay, I'm going to turn into Hinata for a second, alright? So listen to me. The lamp on Naruto's side was on, giving Sasuke a clear view of Naruto's hands getting caught in the sheets. I love you, alright. You're a great friend. I'm serious. You need to start forgiving your Sasuke. Let it sink in and settle into his chest. He felt warm. He closed his eyes and listened to the world. The building was quiet. Naruto breathed like he was barely there. His hands kept shifting around in the sheets. Then, oh god, Hinata. There was a crash, and Sasuke's eyes snapped open just as Naruto pulled himself from the tangle of his blankets, hopped back onto his feet from the floor, and ran over to door. He flung it open, and Sasuke squinted as light came rushing into their room once again. I'm sorry. I swear we didn't forget about you. Naruto, it's fine. She was still out there. Well, of course she was. Hinata hadn't said her goodbye to them yet. Ellipsis. Her arms were wrapped around Naruto's neck, pulling him down to her spot on the floor so she could hold him like he deserved to be held. Her hands were gentle and pressed just above his shoulder blades.